who has been torn away from their security blanket, their parents, the ones who stop the boogeyman from terrorizing the nights and curing their boo-boos when they scrape their knees. Now just imagine how they mightest feel when the CPS meant to protect them tears them away from their supposed abusers and places them with strangers who have zero comforting skills. They need to be calm. They are confused, lost, panicked, and needing their parents, but CPS took them away for the purpose of saving them. The kids don't even know why, and they are told that the parents they attach to no longer want them. What do you think that does? Do you think that this is how protecting children is supposed to look? Abolish CPS.
Psalm 127:3. Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from Him. This suggests children are a precious gift from God to be valued and cared for.
In the United States, a child a minute is taken into DHS, CPS, and so on custody. The reality is their picks are already selected, you just don't know it. Being perfect no longer matters. It's what the adopting families are looking for.
Who is it stealing the children, you ask?
From caseworker to the White House, the buck stops at all levels, just not where it is supposed to be. The services your family needs, we the people have paid for to ensure your reunification. Title IV says, reunify at all costs. United, we stand means nothing to us when it comes to family values. Children are being ripped away from their families. Parents are reverting to addictive behaviors to cover the pain. The trauma caused by child removal is just being recognized, and the results are atrocious. Termination of parental rights is not healthy for anyone, just profitable for the people enforcing the line.
It's time Washington listens to the cries of our children, the wails of their mothers, and the rage growing in the fathers. These are our children. Keep your damn hands off them. We are coming to act on the behalf of the children God gave us to protect, and you kidnapped. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title with fraud.
We need to stop CPS, and abolishcpus.com is leading the way. Join us.
Everybody, welcome. It's Friday night here at CPS Victims Hunting for Justice. I am your host, the CPS Punisher, and I have the wrong thing on the screen. There we go. That's a little better. All right. Tonight, people, It's Friday night, and as always, we have the chat room that will be the chat. The chats that are available to you right here to our right. And who knows where tonight's show is going to go to, but there's the chat that way right there. So if you guys could all go ahead and leave some comments, talk to us, let us know what's going on in your lives and what's going on with your cases. We'd appreciate it. We've got a whole bunch of people here tonight and all kinds of CPS to talk about. I just want to show everybody a little clip here real quick. Let me show you guys this here before we start. Let me go to my my little playlist here. So I want people to hear about this. This is something new, and this is definitely a topic for us to get on here. Of course, there we go. Sorry about that. And we got this. Let's check out this new rule in Texas, I believe. I don't know how this is going to play out for CPS or not, or for us as parents, but understand that we don't talk about it.
Breaking update in Texas law that directly affects parents dealing with child protective services. Get ready for a game changer as we explore the question, can I record a CPS interview in Texas? Before we dive into the details, let me share a fascinating fact. Texas has a unique perspective on recording conversations. It significantly impacts your ability to record CPS interview. The topic is crucial for facing CPS investigations, and today we're unraveling the legal complexities surrounding it. Imagine finding yourself in a situation where you believe documenting a CPS interview is vital, perhaps to protecting your rights or ensuring transparency. Texas' distinct legal framework adds nuance to this issue, and we'll unravel it together and empower any CPS scenario you might face. Before we explore the legal intricacies, let's connect on an emotional level. Close your eyes and imagine being a parent suddenly thrust into a CPS interview. Emotions run high, uncertainty fills the air, and the stakes are palpable. To illustrate this, let me share a powerful story, the fictional tale of Sarah, a loving mother. As CPS showed up at her doorstep based on an anonymous complaint, Sarah felt fear, confusion, and concern for her children. In that moment, she remembered the importance of knowing her rights, including the right to record a conversation. This knowledge empowered her, ensuring the transparency in the process and protection for her family. In the coming minutes, we'll explore the legal nuances of recording CPS interviews in Texas, providing you with the knowledge and empathy needed for critical moments. Let's embark on the journey together, ensuring you're well prepared to safeguard your rights and your family's well-being. Now let's jump to the latest news. For years, CPS investigators in Texas operated without reading parents' rights similar to the Miranda rights. But here's the exciting part. Lawmakers have stepped up and changed the game, introducing a pivotal amendment in Section 2248.11 of the Texas Child Protective Services Handbook. This amendment introduces Form 3010, Notification of Rights, effective October 2023. The game-changing addition is individuals involved in CPS investigations are informed about their rights regarding any interviews and proceedings. Form 3010 is a powerful tool that empowers you with knowledge and protects your rights throughout the process. Let's break down what this acknowledgement section entails, emphasizing the seriousness of the consequences of any statement or admission made during a CPS case. It is a crucial reminder to exercise and be fully aware of your rights throughout the process. Now let's delve into the specifics of the rights outlined on Form 3010, which act as your shield and assurances in this process. Understanding these rights is the first step towards protecting your interest and your family's well-being during a CPS investigation. As you navigate the CPS investigation, remember these key rights. The right not to speak without legal counsel. The right to know complaints or allegations. The right to obtain assistance from an attorney. The right to refuse entry without a court order, the right to audio or video recording the interview, the right to withhold consent to release medical records, the right to refuse drug tests. These rights empower you, giving you a say in the process and ensuring transparency, and accuracy. Stay informed and vigilant as you navigate the evolving landscape of a CPS investigation in Texas. Now that you are in CPS cases, here are tips you can use on your first encounter with CPS. Don't ignore them. Respond to their calls or cards. Record interactions from the start. You don't have to allow CPS into your home without a court order, but cautious about agreeing to drug tests. Consider asking questions rather than answering until consulting with an attorney. As we conclude, remember that knowledge is power. Subscribe for more insights on Texas law and share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay informed, stay empowered, and thank you for joining us on this journey.
All right. So that being said, as of right now, I don't know if that's become the law in Texas or not, or what it's become. But I think hindsight's 2020, and I think a Miranda right would be something that should be done when CPS comes to your home, because what rights do you know if you're not educated as a person already? You don't know what any of your rights are. So let's bring out the panel here. Let's bring out Brittany and Charles and Melissa. And let's see if we can get Herbert out on this one with us. All right, we got them all out. We're all out here, guys. How are we all doing tonight?
Great. How are you? Thanks for that.
We're hanging in. So I'm sorry I popped that on you guys, the whole this, but I'm just going through some videos and I saw this, and I don't know, starting with you, Charles, I guess, what good would Miranda rights do in a CPS investigation for the people that are being investigated by CPS? Where do you feel that lies?
Well, I mean, the purpose of Miranda rights, to begin with, is just to put people on notice of the seriousness of language. I mean, I say over and over again that law is all about words and the use of words, and words have consequences. And I think that it's basically like it's a stop sign, is what it, or maybe it's a yellow sign. Go very carefully. So, I mean, it has exactly the same. It would have exactly the same effect. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I think that's basically good advice for life in general.
Right.
And anything you say can and will be used against you, and often is, no matter how innocent, no matter how correct. People can use and twist your words, and so the best way to give people nothing is nothing to twist, is to give them nothing at all. And
I mean,
so that would be the starting point. Is just it's either a stop sign, stop and think, or a yellow light, proceed with great caution.
I agree 100%. Brittany, what about you? What do you think?
So I think obviously it's a phenomenal idea, right? But how can we ask law enforcement officers, right, CPS officers, to issue some kind of rights that are similar to Miranda rights? So I feel like Herbert can speak to this, but something I want to bring up is like, okay, I think a right of course should be given. And a lot of times I feel like paperwork is given after the fact that states this is what you have the right to do now that we've done this to you. Okay, at the end of a situation. So there's paperwork or documents will advise of rights along the way in small print, or will refer to the handbook or certain rules. But it's not until after you've already allowed CPS into your life because you didn't know you didn't have to, or allowed them into your home because they said so and made you feel like they're under pressure. So, I mean, what I want to bring up is, what about a situation when an officer shows up with CPS? And this is a genuine question.
What do you mean, like who's in control of that? You mean like
Yes.
who's in control of that situation?
Exactly.
Well, the officer's role at those events are supposed to be moot, right? They're supposed to just be there as overseers to ensure that nothing goes on. They're just overseers to make sure that there's no laws that will be broken. I mean, that's what we've found out from Herbert and most of our research. And obviously Herbert, now here he is, he can attest to this stuff. But I would think that I would have to lay on the CPS. But Herbert, what's your thoughts on all this?
Okay. First of all, with the Miranda, and I think that Charles can back me up on this, the Miranda can't be recited to the individual. It has to be read.
Wait a minute, pause.
We
real
have
quick.
to read. We have to read the Miranda off of a card, paper, or whatever it is. I can't just recite the Miranda like you see in Hollywood movies.
Actually, no, that's not true at all. The Supreme Court has said in several cases that giving the substance of the warning is quite adequate. It doesn't have to be a recitation.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be that quote.
Okay.
Well,
it's a procedure. It's a policy and procedure in all police departments to read the Miranda.
Well, I suppose that's to make sure that that they're in perfect compliance, and that's fine. But
Okay.
it's
Okay.
not
The next thing about the Miranda I want to bring to your attention is that although the Miranda is read, a lot of people really don't understand it. They really don't. Because I can read the Miranda to a person and then say, okay, now tell me, what did you do and how did you do it? I just got finished saying to them, you do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be held against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney. If you can't afford one attorney, the court will provide one for you. Having these rights in mind, do you have anything to say to us now? And they usually say nothing. Then I'll say, okay, now tell me what happened. And they start running their mouth.
Right.
Well, but you've given the warning, and so you've shown them the stop
Yeah, but see
sign.
what? Yeah. But the point I'm trying to say is people don't really understand their rights. They don't understand what I just read to them.
They may understand it, but a lot of people just, I mean, I hate to say it, people love to blab.
Right.
And, you know.
I mean,
So everything they say to me, I'm going to hold against them. I'm going to write it down, and that's going to be held up against them.
Right, but the immediate reaction of any person once they get into trouble is to try to talk their way out of it instantly. They want to instantly try to resolve this situation. They don't want it to get further down the road. So I think that's where when people get asked, not that I've been asked questions a bunch of times, and I'm full aware of to shut your mouth, but instantly I've seen people get in that police car and they're like, look, I want to can I tell you something right now? I need to just tell you this, because they don't want it to proceed past the handcuffs to the police station to the fingerprinting. They're trying to avoid that situation from happening right there. So I don't think it's the fact that they've been warned and they don't understand the warning that this is going to be used against them. I think it's the fact they don't give a shit. They're going to try to talk their way out of whatever they can talk their way out of, and they don't even suck in that information that it's going to be used against them because they don't want to get to that point. They're scared.
I can understand that I can understand that if Charles is sitting next to them, and Charles can coach them to, go ahead and say that or don't say that. Because they'll tell me things that's going to be incriminating against them. They think it's not being incriminating, but it is.
Right.
Well, that's why the language says anything you say can and will be used against you.
That's correct.
And anything means anything, and basically it's a matter of alertness and awareness. Brittany wants to say it in the air.
So badly, because I want to flip this really quick, because the message I think we're trying to convey to people is how can you help yourself in this situation? So my question is, okay, then what do we put out there? Let's say if you're there, Herbert, if an officer, and Charles, everyone, if an officer is there assisting CPS in a peacekeeping authority, right, just to make sure nothing goes down, okay, and that person, meaning the parent, says, what are my rights in this situation? Read me my Miranda rights, or says to the CPS worker, what are my rights? But specifically you as the officer there who's just there for peacekeeping, right? What's your what are we trying to, how can we tell people what right questions to ask if an officer is present, right? Let's first start with that. If you're asked, please Mirandize me, do you have to? At what point do you have to? I know legally, but at what point do you have to? Say, okay, yes, I will read you your rights. If you're just there in a peacekeeping authority, do you even have to answer back?
Brittany, that has to do with the definition of an arrest. On an ordinary traffic. on an
Right,
ordinary.
but here, let me interject into this, because what Darren's original question is what's getting lost. What should a CPS do in a Miranda equivocal to let you know you're right? What should they be required to do? Okay, I can answer that question, because in most states, in the state of Florida, when they show up and they knock on your door, they hand you a little pamphlet that says, here is your right. Okay. They, of course, hand you some other irrelevant shit with it, and they hope you don't read it because it's like 4 or 5 pages, and it says almost nothing because they don't really want you to know you're right. But two, Darren was referring to things going on in Texas. Texas has just changed the law in the last 6 months that there is a separate Miranda specific to CPS that they must verbally instruct you of your rights prior to saying, I am here to investigate you.
Right. So they should be saying, it's your right. You do not have to let me into your home right now. You don't even have to speak to me right now. We don't have to be here. The things that we talk about and promote to the people, I think that's what CPS, if they're required to do a Miranda warning, that's what needs to be on there, right? Like, you need to be told that you don't have to let me in. We don't even have to talk right now. But if you want to, then we can go ahead and further. And because how many people know that when CPS comes and knocks on your door and you start talking to them, that you're in the middle of an investigation? You just think they're coming.
And even if you don't say anything, they'll still use it against you. They'll say you said something that you absolutely did not say, and they will use it against you.
Right. It's a choose your own adventure with CPS. But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what we should do. It's a great concept, because we talk about all the time. And no, I'm not talking about just in Texas. I'm talking about everywhere. This is a great thing, because we always say, how do we get people educated that haven't been involved in CPS? And we know that it's a very hard ticket to take. It's very hard to get people to listen to it until they're into it, and then they're too far. But if that's their last warning that they get, here's your warning. You don't have to talk to us. I'm telling you what you don't have to do, but we're coming. If that's the only education they get, then there needs to be a panel of people around to decide what those rights are. So what are those rights do you believe that you should have as a parent, and that CPS should warn you of before you go in that house? Or engage in contact even.
Well, I agree with the way Texas has done it, because in the change of Texas law, they made it so now that everyone is accountable for false reporting, because all initial reports are made through the 911 system to the local police department, therefore punishable in a court of law if you file a false report. Now, a police officer is assigned to go out and do an emergency assessment. Only if he finds something that to him would raise a red flag of clear harm would he then contact the worker. Now, when the worker comes out to your house, he then has to approach you and say, this is knowing your rights before I ask you to enter your house. So I think Texas has taken a good approach to start changing the law to realize that people have some damn rights and they need to be upheld. Just like in the state of Alabama, we made literally our rights off the Bill of Rights for a parent. We made it a state statute because everyone is forgetting the Constitution, because the Constitution don't apply to court anymore.
Yeah, right. Thoughts?
I agree with the comment that.
Hey, how about anybody that's out there watching? Put it in the chat. What rights do you think you should have been warned of before CPS engaged with you, or when they engaged with you? What rights out there are there that you think that it should be mandatory, or it should be at minimal? You just are given, like you're warned, like you don't have to let us in, things like that. What about in the chat? Anybody out there have any things? All of them, Carrie says. Is there anything out there that you guys think? Just let us know there, and we'll get to that. But yeah, I mean, I think this is just something to be watched for sure. And I think that this would be something good in this movement to maybe propose to put forward to be a requirement, whether we get a CPS abolished, like I want it to be done, and it's rebuilt, or whether they keep putting Band-Aids on this. I think Miranda warnings for people involved with CPS would be a great idea. That being said, we have a guest backstage here named Jess. She is in quite a situation herself. She's from my state. We'll bring her out and she can tell us her story. Hey Jess, how are you?
So I have. Hi, sorry I didn't come in last night. I've had a lot going on.
Yes, you have. No worries about that.
So yeah, I have 3 children. I've never dealt with the state. 22-year-old, 9-year-old, and 3-year-old. The state came in. I had cops previous come in because my ex, unfortunately, was very abusive. They never called the state on me because they're supposed to. Violence happens. So the last time they called, and he was in prison for 2 weeks before they came into my house. They came in. Unfortunately, my daughter, she's 22 now. She was using. I don't use. And they saw that off her, and they came in and got a vibe, assumed me of being on heroin, and said my son was lethargic, and took him out in an ambulance. And they just punch holes after punch holes after punch holes.
So when they came in, did they just walk right in? Did you let them in?
Oh yeah, I let them in. I did. I had no idea. I had no idea about it. Yeah, I didn't know that I could not let them in my house.
Was there?
See, that would have been perfect for the Miranda.
Yeah, I had
Miranda,
no idea.
right there. Told her that would have been
Crazy
so
about
great.
it. So listen, we've been going on this for a year now, and I still have not signed no paperwork for a unification, a plan. Nothing, not one thing.
You're at what stage now though? Where are you at? Are they still saying they just took your visits away too, right?
Yes, they did. They took them away because my daughter's missing, and I had to cancel a visit one day for my son. So they took it away.
Right. Which Melissa will back me up. Melissa, is it everywhere, but is it just in the state of Maine that they have to? The judges are the only ones that can make a visit seize, right? It has to go in front of the courts. They can't just stop your visits.
So in the case that I'm doing up in Bangor, they stopped the mom's visitations because she never entered into contract with the department.
Okay, but if you don't sign, but I understand that. But if you don't sign a contract, you're not.
Well, she's under TPR because of it, because she failed to participate. She failed to make an effort to participate. She's under a TPR. Grandma is fighting for the kids. Grandma stands a good chance of getting them, but they did stop her visitation for it. And in one of the motions that I put together and filed on her behalf, I was able to bring the awareness to the court. And then they immediately picked up and started doing visitation again before the judge corrected them.
Right. So I think I have it right here, actually.
Yeah, because there's statutes in Maine that talk about grounds for termination is the compliance with the department, not the completion of their services, but just being willing to kiss their ass. And they call failing to sign any of their stuff a failure to comply.
Right. And the only reason they're doing, but here's the thing: how can they do that when, like, for her instance, we're not court ordered in that, right? Or
no, but it's about voluntary compliance. It's not about forced compliance. It's about voluntary compliance because, they're kind of blackmailing you. They're holding your kid hostage,
Yeah, the reason why they used my children for being pulled was because I allowed them to the domestic violence and allowed them to caretakers under the influence of drugs. But I never failed one drug test, hair follicles, nothing.
Was the domestic violence ever reported before?
No. Well, it was reported as far as police reports, but the cops never called DHS.
Okay, so you say there's a record of police reports of the domestic violence. And no one felt it necessary after receiving those reports to make a report or a recommendation to CPS or to come to your house because they thought the kids to be in danger.
Correct.
Okay. What stage are you at right now? So do you have an attorney?
I do.
Okay.
I'm looking for a new attorney because she works for the state of Maine, and I'm not getting too far with her. I had court today, and it was my son's father, the one that abused me, my youngest son.
Sorry, and are you in Maine? What state are you in? What's that?
I'm in Maine. Yeah, I'm in Maine.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And have you disclosed the domestic violence directly to CPS?
Have I? I'm sorry.
Have you discussed the domestic violence with CPS directly and explained from your own perspective what, from your own position, what happened, and have you shown your lawyer the police reports? Have these been presented to the court?
Yes.
Has that angle been taken?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever been granted?
I have no criminal record.
But Brittany, one thing to bring in, one thing to bring into this that is being overlooked, and this is a very strong thing. Everyone always focuses on what originally happened that brought the kids into care. Okay, but when a child is in care, there is more than one part of the case that has to be met, because at the time they came in care, was dependency needed? Maybe, probably not, but maybe. We'll give most cases a maybe. But at the time of these review hearings, at the time that they're looking for goal change, at the time they're doing all this other stuff, is dependency still needed to be continued? Are they still a need for dependency or a failure to discharge your rights? Because that is the basis for the grounds of termination. And the thing is, the court spends all their time directing everyone's attention back to the beginning. Oh, there was an abuser in the home. Okay, but obviously she's taken the steps to rectify this because she doesn't want her kids to continue to stay gone. And the court fails to acknowledge the change of position that means that the children are technically, by the statutes of law, no longer meeting the definition of dependency. And that's the major problem with 98% of the cases out there.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Because the rules state clearly the child is being removed until the risk of danger has been alleviated, right? Like till jeopardy has been alleviated. So,
yeah, it's like emergency jurisdiction, like the rules of a UCCJEA, emergency jurisdiction. The court has the authority while the harm exists. When the harm doesn't exist, the authority really isn't supposed to continue to exist, but it's a manipulation of funding.
I understand what you're saying 100%, but the whole thing with my case is there was no jeopardy in my house. He was already in prison. He was already arrested for what he did to me. The only jeopardy in my house.
So wait a minute. So they came in. They came as an after effect of the system.
2 weeks after. 2 weeks after. 2 weeks after.
Yep. Oh shit. Oh.
Yep.
This is what I'm getting at. There's a whole other angle to look at this from. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. I have practiced New Jersey and New York domestic violence. Okay, I focused on that I don't practice anymore. But there's a whole other angle here because if they're still coming for you, so this connects to what Melissa just said. Okay, everyone focuses back at the beginning and no one looks at now. Where is he now? They're coming for you for endangering the child for failure to protect from domestic violence. Is that one angle?
Yeah, he's still in prison.
And he's still in prison. So the allegations of domestic violence or that they're saying you failed to protect from are just with respect to him, nobody else. And they're also coming at you from the angle of the drug use, which you passed hair all the way up to hair follicles. Okay.
Yeah, that was her daughter, not her. That wasn't even her. So that was not
so what I'm saying is the domestic violence angle that right now that mom could potentially be ever in the position to failing to protect the children from another domestic violence incident when that dad was in prison the whole time, right? when they took the kids and now. Well, then let's focus on right now. That there's no danger to the children for that situation. Like that's one really strong
the whole thing. So when CPS came at 8:30 in the morning, they tried to pull my kids out at 10. I had the detective. I had the whole department of fucking Berwick here. They sat in my house for 8 hours, telling me that CPS was wrong for pulling my kids out. And my youngest son left in an ambulance because they said he was lethargic because when he abused me, Adrian was thrown. So they put him in an ambulance by himself and brought him to Portland. Gave him CAT scans, whatever. It all came back. He was normal.
So they've got nothing. They've got nothing.
No, and they have, with having nothing, the problem is the only way to clarify it a year in is to correct the record and make enough record that at the next hearing, she has something to argue at a higher level. Because again, like we all say, you're never going to win fairly in a trial court. You have to have, it's kind of like that one professor guy was saying about having leverage over the department. Unless you got some strong leverage over them, they're just going to double talk in a circle till they meet the statutory timeline. That's what we're seeing in every case.
Yeah. They either make abandonment a part of it all of a sudden. You don't even realize it because let's be honest here. When you're in these cases, time just flies. All of a sudden
and Darren, they filed abandonment on you because they stopped your visitation for 6 months.
Yep. That's what they got me for, was abandonment. And it was their doings. They stopped my visits. So, but you don't even realize that that's what they're doing, because this whole time you're trying to, do whatever. This whole mess is just a chaos when you're involved in it. But, it's not right. It's not right that they're not being held up to their end of their rights and responsibilities. And it's not right that they're not held to the truth of the matter, which is when jeopardy is alleviated, your kids come home, period. And that's what the rules say. That's what they say. And they're not doing that ever. I mean, you're a year into it. So you're getting to be to the 15 out of 22 months is coming right up on you. So they're going to want to say pretty soon that they're going to push for TPR, right? Are they even talking about that now?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet. No.
But the time record is just
signed over. He just signed over his rights today.
He signed them over to the state?
He said that, I don't know what he did. I had it, basically, I guess.
You just email me, get my email address from Darren.
Yeah,
and,
I got it. Yep.
Well, it's in the private chat. If she clicks the button for the private chat, she can see your email.
Yeah, I sent it to her too.
Thank you. I just want to say we can talk about this more because I see where you're coming from 100% on this. Okay. And I haven't dealt with the case in Maine, but I've done a case very similar to this. And I really think we can help.
Oh, I pissed off a lot of people in Maine. Darren will tell you, I spent 10 days out there pissing off people in Maine.
Where I kind of fucked up is my kids got pulled last year in February 23rd to be exact. And the state, I was so mad and angry because there was no reason for my babies to be pulled out of the house the way they were pulled. So the state came to my house and I didn't like the way she was talking to me. I told her to go fuck herself and get out of my house. And ever since then, it's been downhill.
Well, that's not a crime.
Now the one good thing about cases in Maine, because some states will try to bitch if you file stuff when having an attorney. In the state of Maine, they will not allow your attorney to recuse, even when you're filing your own stuff. They still just leave them on the record. So you can call your attorney a dog-ass piece of shit on the document, and they still have to represent you.
It wasn't my attorney, caseworker. It was my caseworker.
But I'm saying, in Bangor, the family that I was working for, I directly quoted out 101 ways how this guy not only ineffectively represented his client, but he was the only one in the court to call her a druggie when she wasn't even doing drugs. He was the only one to essentially attack her character when no one else was. And I called it all out on documents, and he still had to stick around until they found a replacement.
Yeah, they're crazy. They did that same type of stuff with my attorney for the appeal. He didn't see eye to eye. The guy blatantly said he didn't want to represent me, and I didn't want him representing me. And the appeals court still said, "Too bad, man. He's representing you." So
You
it's
know what
just
really
stuff.
blows my mind about all this, though? How are they going to have state-appointed lawyers that work for the state of Maine?
Well, that's the other part of it. They're all in bed together, so they're obviously not going to fight for you.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but they are there to fight for you, right?
Well, that's what they say.
No, not really.
That's, you know what their job is, to make sure that they can't get to an appeal with you. That's what their job is. They make sure that you
Public pretender says it all.
Yeah. I mean, so what they pretty much do is they walk you right down the aisle. They tell you, you know, if you think something's wrong, you tell your attorney. They make up an excuse to why they can't fight that argument. They'll never put in an objection or an appeal to any of your stuff that the department's doing to you. They won't do any of that. They make sure that you go to the courtroom, that they use as little bit of evidence and information that they can. That way you have nothing to appeal when you go to appeal court. And then they sign away with you and say, "Good luck. We did do everything we could." You know damn well it's a lie.
Yeah.
That's basically what they do here in the state. And it seems like it's everywhere that they do this, not just here. Charles, what's your angle on the domestic violence stuff?
I guess I guess when I just start, I come from a very different angle because I feel like the state just interferes too much in people's lives, and I don't know why we put up with it. I don't know why people think that it's a good idea to give this kind of power to the state, and why everyone seems okay with it. And why are we arguing, for instance, about how they should do it instead of whether it's any of the state's business at all?
Right.
I believe Melinda and Melissa and I were talking the other day about the concept of parents' patriarchy. Why do we accept that? Why do we accept the idea that the state should step into the feet of parents? The state.
How old? How old is that document? Parents' patriarchy.
Well, I mean, it's in Latin, but it's not actually a feature of Roman law at all. So basically, it's a modern invention made to sound ancient by putting it in Latin. But it really is it's really a product of the welfare state and of the so-called reform movements, where everybody wants the state to take care of them. It's basically an invitation to communism. You know, I can't take care of myself. I can't raise my income. I can't take care of my kids. I need the government help. Well, okay, if you're gonna bargain for help from the government, I guess it makes some sense that you give up authority to the government. And that is the problem that we see all over. Is people trade I would say their God-given or natural freedom for some kind of security or intervention, basically, in the process. And I mean, you know, to give you an idea of how totally recent it is. Think about there's an old, I don't know if anybody here knows Hank Williams Sr., one of the first modern country western singers. And he has this song, if my wife and I are a fussing, buddy, that's all right, because that me and that sweet woman got a license to fight. That was the basic wisdom in the 1940s. And yet now, if you're fighting with your spouse, you can invite the state in. I mean, traditionally in the United States and England, the police were very reluctant to get involved in domestic conflict because there was almost never any clear right and wrong. except in cases that really involve criminal conduct, murder, mayhem. It's pretty obvious who's dead, and it's pretty obvious who's living, and it's pretty obvious if somebody's got a stab wound that's not fatal. And those were crimes long before we needed state intervention in the family.
Right.
But that's not the way people think. People think about, what can the government do to me? And I always quote Ronald Reagan: the most terrifying words of the English language are, "We are from the government, and we're here to help you." So I think that really what we should be doing is not trying to reform CPS or the CPS process, as the title of your website is Abolish CPS. That's basically why I'm here, is because I don't want to see CPS reformed except by abolition.
Right. It needs to be destroyed, dismantled, taken down, and started from the ground up for need-by-need situations, and have some sort of authority that has nothing to do with anybody.
Maybe just give it back to the people and say,
correct.
If you want to form a neighborhood association of parents,
agreed.
That would be really cool. I mean, let's see what in a neighborhood people can do to provide good playgrounds.
Right.
What can people do to provide good summer outings, summer camps? Why, if people provide for themselves, then they will have the safety net of, if it turns out that somebody's husband is an alcoholic, maybe they'll see it coming, and maybe they'll say, "Hey, I'm not to pick on Brittany here, but Brittany, your husband seems to be having a problem drinking. You want us to help him? Should we try to intervene? Should we try to help?" And if you have a community, then you've got the safety net, and the best kind of safety net, because they're your neighbors, and they're people who, if they care enough to join the organization to begin with, then they're better than any bunch of cops and bureaucrats who got licensed master of social science or social service or something. People who are parents and helping each other. Wow, you've been really depressed. You lost your job. You need any help? I mean, why do people look to the government instead of looking to their neighbors?
Right. Well, you figure.
I say abolish CPS and don't rebuild it. Don't rebuild it as a government organization anyhow. Maybe encourage neighborhoods.
Right. Go back to that. It takes a village. That whole takes a village thing.
Love thy neighbor as thyself.
Right. Well, look, God for some reason gave us that right, or gave us the skill, or the whatever you want to call it, to recreate or to procreate, to have children. We are leaders of our children. So that should be something that we already are all set as human beings to take care of, to flourish, and to be fine with. We don't need others to do that, because otherwise God wouldn't have given us that application to be able to use. I mean, that's why we're here. So, I mean, obviously we're capable of making them, we're capable of taking care of them. So they decided the government needed to step in and take care of our stuff. Who knows?
It's when we stopped. It's when we stopped having communities and stopped believing, basically, that the first and greatest commandment is thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. That's what Jesus said, quoting Leviticus. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
It's when you covet the neighbor that you have a problem, Charles.
Hmm?
It's when you covet your neighbor, that's when you have a problem.
Well, and that again, that's best handled through community. I mean, we don't want a world where adulterers are stoned, but it takes an agreement to eliminate them. And people need to think. You know, it goes back to exactly where you started this conversation at the beginning. What is the value of a Miranda warning? It's to make you think. It's to make you think before you speak, which is so deeply contrary to a lot of humans' basic instinct. They talk without thinking, and they do not want to, you know, okay, why is this person asking? Why are they here? What are they doing? I mean, that's really all that Miranda warnings do is they say, you have a right to think before you speak, but you have to be willing to think before you speak, before it has any meaning. And I mean, I think everybody who speaks English can basically understand those words, but understanding is not the key issue. It's internalizing, taking it inside of yourself and saying, should I talk to this person? I mean, if you meet somebody on the streets, you know, you have to make a decision of whether to talk to them or not. Yeah. So why is it that somebody's writing something about it's not a government, it's a corporation, but well, I don't know what's the difference between a government and a corporation. I personally have no idea what the difference between a government and a corporation. A government is a corporate body. And so I guess what we mean is it's not of the people anymore, it's of a foreign interest. Maybe that's what we really mean. And yes, a lot of us for many years have said that we don't have a constitutional government. We have basically an occupation government imposed from the outside. May sound a little bit extreme to some people, but I'm one of those people who think that if anything, it's an understatement.
Yep. Well, I agree, Charles. I agree with that. We're ready for that revolution. But what else? What else do we got for Jess? Anybody got any last words for Jess here before we tell her that she's amazing and that Brittany's going to help her and all that good stuff? Anybody got any words for Jess of encouragement or any last things to say?
Well, you know, the nice thing about having a case full of flaws right from the beginning, if you have your team, like I told Charles with his stuff, you know, we don't need a person to figure it out. We need a team, because each person has their own opinion and their own thought. And through that own opinion and own thought, you look up a little more and a little more and a little more, and before you know it, you found a whole section of things that you can use to attack a situation. So from that perspective, like, for instance, my case. Earlier, we were talking about the GAL's corruption and how far she's reaching out just to prove the arguments of conspiracy. I mean, and then we got to talking about Judge Hyde, the wicked ass of the South, you know? And then me and Brittany started researching shit. Between me and her, we figured out that Judge Hyde is not allowed to record his own court. And if he's going to record his own court, he has to have someone else work the electronic recorder, and he has to have a signed waiver allowing it, signed by all parties involved, and all kinds of things. So, and it argues that every transcript that's ever been recorded, because it wasn't done under the proper procedures, was that Rule 10 or Rule 19?
I think it's Rule 29.
Well, but what I was saying was, was just trying to wrap up here with Jess, like if we had any last thoughts for her before we kicked her loose, before we finished up.
Well, she already logged off, but she's still in the chat. But yeah, no, we will put our head together as a team, and we will help her come up with an answer. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, we can't let.
If anything, me and Brittany are both too much of a pessimistic pain in the ass not to research it to death and come up with some kind of answer.
You just took the words right out of my mouth as I'm typing them in an email to her with you copied on it. I literally wrote pretty much what you're saying. So yes.
All right, cool. Jess, you have any last things to say before we cut you out of here?
Like I told you, she already signed off the video part. She's just logging into the chats.
Yeah. All right. Well, then good. She's out there. All right. So anyway, back at the ranch. That's her case. Hopefully we can do some things for her. So that's good. But another case where right there from the gates, the Miranda would have been a great thing for her to have access to right there at the beginning. Because if she would have known, she wouldn't have let them in the house. Then they would have seen the things they'd see.
Yeah, so, but the bad thing is, even when you still become partially compliant because, it's like trying to talk the cop out of arresting you, because if you're extra nice and extra polite and extra cooperative, maybe he won't use everything he said, that you say against you. So really, even if people know 100% of their rights, they still try to be compliant to the arms of the government. And the bad thing is nowadays, they are all gonna lie. 100% across the board. And I think that's the real problem, that even if you still try to comply, because you don't want them to walk out of that house with your kid. If you can convince them you're a great person, maybe they won't walk out of the house with your kid. And if they do have a warrant, maybe if you beg a little more, if they don't have a warrant, if you beg a little more, they won't go get a warrant. So no matter what, you get screwed. The second they put their hands on your kid, it is now their possession, and you're going to spend a year trying to fight to get it back. If you get lucky.
Right, if you get lucky. That's the thing. Once they do, you have a 12% chance once they do that. And that's comes from their numbers, not ours, not anything made up. That's the numbers that you just got to do some simple math, and you get that number. It's pretty crazy. It's unfortunate, and it's the truth. But as long as people like us keep pounding away and trying to fight for these people, eventually we'll come up with something. Right? We'll turn something over that we can be able to start throwing these people out of court left and right. It's it will come.
Well, and honestly, for anyone else out there that wants, some type of case intervention or review, I had thrown Brittany's email up in the chat. They can go send her a message. She'll hit them up. Of course, when they email her, the first thing she's going to do is call me, and the first thing I'm going to do is call all of you guys. So we'll get the team involved.
Yep, that sounds good. Anybody else?
It's like the saying, teamwork makes dream work.
Yes, it
Maybe.
does.
Maybe that's a nightmare. Who knows?
Yeah, wherever you want you're living in.
No, I mean, honestly, if anyone just wants to know, do I have a case, case evaluation? Do I have a case here? We just need a brief rundown of the facts. Reach out, and between everyone on here, we'll figure out, okay, we can help on this part, we can help on this part, and what do we have a case? Can we fight it? How do we need to create a record? What do we need to do? Even if you're overwhelmed with it, if you want help, just reach out.
All right. Let's see if anybody in the chats have anything to say to get us into the weekend. We had a good night in the chat tonight, guys. You guys are really great. All of you. Jessica, Brooke, you're always great with us. Carrie. Oh, man. All of you. Look at everybody tonight. That's awesome. You guys are great. Thank you. Brenda was here. All of you guys. Thank you guys so much for supporting us and sharing this and, helping us along the way. And I mean, we're slowly growing. We're not pulling in giant numbers, but more and more people are watching us every day. So that's why we're here. We're here every day, Monday through Friday, 9, 10-ish o'clock, whatever time that is. But, we're always here, though. So thank you to everybody that's watching us and supporting us. It's really cool. That being said, Britt, you got any last words?
No, I just want to thank everyone for coming on and sharing their story and and everyone on here. This is a great discussion, so thanks for having me, guys.
Charles.
Oh, it's been a long week. What can I say? But I guess my message to everybody is just the same. Don't accept the situation. Don't accept the world as it is. Think of how it can be a better world. Don't just think about how to modify a bad situation. Don't just think about making a bad situation better. Thinking about making a different situation. Change the law. Challenge the basic structures. CPS should be abolished. It is not an American institution. It's an anti-American institution.
I agree. No more can I agree with you, my friend. No more can I agree with you than that. Herbert, we got Herbert here still?
Yep. Don't let CPS into your house or law enforcement into your house unless they have a signed warrant to come into your house. And if they do enter your home, make sure everything, your house is clear of any paraphernalia or illegal stuff, because it'll be held against you.
Herbert's coming for it.
Herbert's coming for it.
All right. Melissa, last words for you, my lady.
Don't ever quit fighting for your kids, because even when all hope's lost, maybe there's someone out there with a good idea to give you a little more hope, because you are your kid's hero. You are the defender of your child, and the day you quit fighting is the day the child is lost.
Yep, and that's the truth. Ain't that the truth? All right, everybody. I don't know if you saw that thing in the chat, but if we could do a meet after this, that'd be cool. But
Okay.
For everybody else, we are going to wrap up this week. Thank you guys again very much for this week. I hope that we gave you valuable information that you are able to use and share amongst people so that you can make sure that CPS doesn't grab your children, because it's a very real thing. The struggle is real. So until we meet again next week, Monday through Friday, we got a bunch of new stuff. We got some new things coming. We're going to go talk about it after this. So make sure next week that you guys are here. We'll catch you all next week. CPS Monitor. As long as this does. See, I always
meditate, you waking up now, well baby you hella late. Educate, look at what's going. Accelerate, find your inner hunger like you never ate. Agenda is to push the hate, separate and segregate, don't celebrate. Quite yet the storm is coming, cue for heaven's sake. Violence that they demonstrate, instigate and penetrate the values of our country, and our God is what they desecrate. My fighters ain't no featherweight, pulling out the seams of the fabric that they fabricate. They feed us lies, manipulate, intimidate through fear and force, forcing us to sit and wait till we come together, congregate, and then we liberate. Praying that you give me strength to silence the hate, marching the streets of blood till I see the golden gates. Troubadour, troubled souls, one of God's servants. Blades out, cut the grass till we see the serpents.
One day I hope you see the truth. This puppet show, it stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.
I know the truth is hard to swallow, just digest it. Suspected something's going on, chosen just neglected, deflected by some breaking news. Oh, we just accepted, expected just to fall in line and follow their perspective. Don't question their objectives, but I got a lot of questions. How these kids molested, but nobody's been arrested. Read it in the Testament, these children are protected. So I'm fighting all these terrorists, both foreign and domestic. Refuse to be directed, lying not a sheep. Only kneel to my God, so I'm dying on my feet. Silence when we speak, but there's violence in the street. I've been rolling with them, I can't take it on the deep. Nah, drink from a glass half full, I'm optimistic. People are sadistic, so vicious and malicious. Praying for assistance to overcome opposition, or I'm gonna start resisting and then I pray for forgiveness.
Oh, one day I hope you see the truth. This puppet show, it stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now. We need you now. Oh, we need you now. One day. Truth. This puppet show, it stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.